Okay, boom. And we are live. I want to
Yes.
thank everyone for tuning into a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this afternoon. We have a magnificent guest with us today, one who is going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than our brother, Minister David Muhammad, out of New York City. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, big brother. Wa alaikum salam, brother Joshua.
Yes,
Nice to
sir.
be on your show. Yes, sir.
The honor is ours. And on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast, we want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come have a conversation with us. The first question that we have for you, sir, is when did you first hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
I would have to say I first heard the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad when I was a student at City College of New York.
Mm,
In fact, like most of us, we heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan speaking first, or we would hear him on radio, hear him on TV, or we would travel to hear him speak. At City College, I was an administrative assistant to the chairman of the Black Studies Department, Dr. Leonard Jeffries. So he would always take me to Abyssinia Baptist Church when the minister came in to town to speak with uh, Black clergy, Black leadership, Black reporters. Dr. Jeffries was able to bring me along with him. So I was always able to hear the minister in those kinds of private sessions, and it was just some of the most impactful and inspirational moments of listening to the teachings from him, as well as his offerings of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Yes, sir.
all praises due to Allah. Yes, sir. And people are showing love all around the world already. Thank you, Sister Amina Hanan. Walaikum salam. And thank you all who are watching. Uh, what was it that made you want to accept the teaching, sir?
Well, I remember um, the minister to many of us was like the number one prize fighter. He was the elite of the elite. He was the greatest of the great. He was the boldest and the baddest of the bold. So many of us, no matter what we thought we knew or what influences were attracting us at certain times of our lives, the ideal was to help Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I remember I graduated from City College in 1985, but I would always go back to visit the department, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, and I would always have a cassette tape player, which was popular at that time, playing speeches of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, sir.
And one day before I joined the nation in 1987, I told Dr. Jeffries that I was going to become a member of the Nation of Islam and follow the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And he jokingly started teasing me, saying things like how I must be looking for a father or must be looking for another father. And he was going to consult with many of his other professors and doctors to find out, exactly what's going on here. But it was a joke of his, just to say that he was proud and he knew it was coming, he knew it would happen, and of course he wished me well. So it was an honor to come aboard the Nation of Islam, follow the teachings and the guidance given to us by the Messiah in our midst today, and to learn the awesome body of knowledge, left for us or given to us by Master Farad Muhammad through his messenger, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. All praises due to Allah. Okay, and shout out to your work with Professor Leonard Jeffries. Walaikum salam. Flint 147 Savage, thank you for showing love out of Flint, Michigan. Walaikum salam, Sister Miriam, and everyone else who was watching. So you join the nation in 1987. How did your family and friends feel, sir?
Oh, my family wholeheartedly accepted that, especially even my moms. I mean, they all were glad because while I was a student at City College, I was an activist, man. I was hardcore an activist. In the Black Studies department, we had many study groups, uh, two study groups. We street spoke Black history in Harlem for almost 4 to 5 years.
Mm,
So I was street speaking in Harlem like almost twice a week for years. Black
mm,
history, African American history, enlightening the population, enlightening the passers-by, as well as being a part of many other, Black groups, Black scholarly type movements. So um, my family just saw it as another step, and upon reading How to Eat to Live by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, my family was stunned to hear that I had changed my diet. I no longer ate meat, no longer ate chicken, ate fish, changed my diet, talking about one meal a day, and so some of that was strange, but they accepted it because they saw the good in it. And I remember one time we had brought Dr. Khalid to Harriet Tubman Junior High School. We brought Dr. Khalid to Harriet Tubman 11 times. He gave
mm.
7 speeches on Malcolm X, the man, his mentor, his meaning, his mission, and his murder. And I would always leave a flyer on my house refrigerator so my family would know what was going on. So one day we were in school and I saw one brother, then I saw a second brother. They pointed to my mom's. So my mom snuck in the school, was seated in the audience, but she didn't let me know she was coming. She just snuck in there. So I just say that to say, and this was in maybe 1991. I just say that to say that my family fully supported, the work that I began to do in the nation, and everybody loved Minister Farrakhan. Everybody loved Minister Farrakhan.
Praise be
Yes,
to
sir.
Allah. Beautiful. Okay. And may we have your parents' name, sir?
Yes, my mom's name was Mary. Mary. I'll leave her last name out, but it was Mary.
Thank you, sir.
And I have 4 younger brothers, two older sisters, and everybody was good. Everybody was good. But the work we do, yes, we are involved in the work, but the work we do brings about a change for all of our people, whether it's our children, our siblings, our cousins, aunts and uncles, parents. The work we do is to establish a kingdom for all of our people. And this is something I hope we can tap into a little later on, because most people who became attracted to Malcolm X and who became attracted to Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, they never saw the weaknesses or the wrong that these men may have been involved in. They never saw the mistakes these men made. They never saw the changes they brought in terms of the rules and wanting to do their own thing. The people were just caught up in the fact that they knew these men contained or conveyed a spirit of God that made them feel better, made them feel whole, made them feel proud, made them feel as though somebody was standing for them. So they gravitated to these men. But we inside the nation, see, we could see the faults Malcolm was making. We could see the faults Dr. Khalid was making. And even though these men held high seats of office, they could do things or hold secrets within themselves, do things that they may have known was wrong, hold it within themselves, but they couldn't hold it from Master Farad Muhammad. They couldn't hide it from Master Farad Muhammad because he was the one who was giving them the power to become who they became and to do as they were doing. And in most cases, he was shielding them and protecting them. So the masses of our people, being captivated by their title, by their gift of speech, by their throne of leadership, felt as though these men could do no wrong. But in the nation, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says it like this: you can come as you are, but you cannot stay as you are. So change is something that always has to happen. Yes, sir.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. And
Praise
people
be to
bear
Allah.
witness, and they're watching all around the world. Brother Corey Muhammad. Hey, Brother Corey. Assalamu alaikum. Brother Corey holding down out of Cleveland. And we're sending positive energy and prayers to you, our brother Corey, for you and your family. May Allah be pleased with your father. We love you. Brother Ronald says, ASA, brothers, alaikum salam, Brother Ronald. Brother King Simon says, me and Brother David used to do security at the Cotton Club and other places for the NOY. And thank you, Brother King Simon. And he says, KSPTV Media. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Kente. Alaikum salam. And thank you all very much. Absolutely. The next question we have for you, we're gonna dive into the life of Dr. Khalid and parallels of Malcolm X and others. But I wanted to just show a brief clip for everybody and ask how did this come about and what are your thoughts on this clip? On it. And thank you everybody for tuning in to the People's Podcast today on a Saturday. So I'm glad everybody's tapped in.
Yes, sir.
Very honored. 1 second. Here we go. There we go. Here we go.
Day that makes you feel prejudiced.
I think that he said that we think that they're inferior. I think it's partly part of your own complex that you have to get over, because I don't feel you're inferior. I have nothing against black people.
Yes. Let me answer her. This is the, excuse me, this is the situation. Every young white adult says, I have not done this to black people. I have not done that to black people. But your forefathers are the ones who have set us in the situation we are in. Now, what I'm saying is this. When Nat Turner stood up, you all rejected him. You killed him. When Marcus Garvey stood up, you all rejected him, enslaved him. He died a broken heart. Now, what I'm saying is this. Your fathers have put us in the condition we are in, and today you are profiting from what your forefathers have done. Now, my grandchildren are going to be raised, and your children are going to say to them, they have not done to them, because you are the ones who are going to do to my grandchildren what they're going to experience if the situation continues. Now, what I'm saying is this. When we talk about America falling, what we are saying is this. If you all want to control America, then we must have a land base that we control. You all cannot continue printing the dollar bill and then expect us to abide by your rules when you do not want to give us jobs. Therefore, I'm saying that we have now got to come into negotiations, and Minister Farrakhan is the man to listen to.
All right.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is
Wow.
Minister David back in the day at the Donahue show. Can you
Yes,
let
sir.
us know how did that come about, sir?
Yes, sir. Well, myself, like just about every soldier who becomes an FOI, we join the ranks, and we receive the training we receive because we understand we as a people are at war. So
Yes,
we come to the nation to be at war, but it's a nation of discipline, a nation of order, a nation with captains and lieutenants and first officers, and there's rank and file. So Donahue taped the first show and did not go through the audience. This was in January of 1990, January or February. I think the show aired in 1990. He taped the first show and did not go through the audience to allow the audience to ask questions or make statements. So at the ending of the first show, he announced he was going to tape two shows or tape a second show in which he would allow the audience to have a greater interplay and participate a whole lot more. So not only was the first show wild, the second part, when the audience was able to say what they had to say, was even more off the hook. I mean, I had never seen such disgust in my life. I mean, white folk, they did not hold back. To me, it was denigrating, disrespectful. It was crazy. It was like the wild, wild west. They just wanted to say what they wanted to say it in the manner they wanted to say it. And I was troubled by the fact that anybody would dare speak to our leader and our teacher, our, man of peace, our prize fighter in that manner. So when I saw, MGT have a couple of words, I'm like, they need to hear from me, So I raised my hand. Donahue pointed to me, and he brought the mic my way. So at that time, I just, after feeling hurt that folk would, in my perspective, talk in such a disrespectful and slanderous way toward our leader, our premier leader, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, in the manner and tone they were, I just had to, speak in the manner that I did and address it from that point of view. Yes, sir.
Praise to do so a lot. Beautiful.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. And people will bear witness. Thank you, Welcome Salam from Jackson, Mississippi. Thank you, Brother Kevin. And thanks for sharing your firsthand account. Thank you, Sister Amina, for saying all of you all's comments. Now we would like to go to someone who I admired growing up and still admire to this day, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. And when the brother recommended you to come on, he said you were his assistant for years. What was it like working with Dr. Khalid?
Oh, it was a pleasure. It was an honor. As I said, I had assisted Dr. Leonard Jeffries in the Black Africana Studies Department at City College for at least four plus years. Mm. And when I met Dr. Khalid, he just appeared to me. I don't know if it was because of his title or his intellect, but the man was just, he was just full of the spirit of God in my view and in my vantage point, from my vantage point. I mean, I saw so much of the spirit of God in him.
Yes, sir.
Not a spirit that was greater than the spirit that Minister Louis Farrakhan is anointed with, but Brother Khalid, as his national spokesman, a brother who had been a supreme captain in the nation, the brother was just full of a certain spirit of war. Wow. that was, enticing to me, becoming to me. And in fact, your father, Brother Sharif Abdul Muhammad, I remember the day Minister Louis Farrakhan brought Dr. Khalid to New York and made him the minister of Muhammad's Mosque number 7.
Okay.
April 16, 1990. Yes, I remember the date. Sunday, April 16, 1990. The day before, Saturday, I believe he met with the laborers of the mosque and introduced Khalid to them, but he introduced him to the believers and the audience, the guests, on that Sunday. All right, so later that evening, we were gathered outside of Sister Captain Karima, the MGT captain of the mosque, her brownstone in Harlem at the time, 1990. And Minister Farrakhan was inside the house. Others were inside the house. But outside was your father, Brother Sharif, Abdul Sharif Muhammad, Brother Mustafa Farrakhan, the son of Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Okay.
Dr. Khalid was outside. And then you had a slew of ministers, student ministers from the East Coast, a slew of captains, officers, lieutenants from the East Coast were outside. And one of the comments that your father, Brother Sharif, made was this. My first day meeting Brother Khalid. He said, your father said, there's only one man in New York that's going to work with Brother Khalid. And I can tell all of you right now who that man is. He said, the only man in New York that's going to work with Dr. Khalid is Brother David. He pointed to me. He said, now, how can I say only Brother David? He said, I can say only Brother David because he and Brother Khalid are just alike. They're both warriors. So it was that spirit of war in Dr. Khalid that attracted me to him. And as your father said, within a week, I became his assistant. And it just happened over T-shirts. Brother had some T-shirts come in from Los Angeles, and he turned around and the T-shirts had already been disseminated amongst the believers, the FOY in particular. And some had sold some were still selling some had money for some. And Brother Khalid was like distraught. He was like, so who's keeping track? Who's monitoring this? Who's controlling what's going on? Who knows who has what T-shirts? So
yes,
from that point, I took charge. Started going around to all the brothers, getting a number of how many T-shirts they took, how much money they had, and just working with Dr. Khalid from that basis. And then one thing led to another. And then the two of us just worked together like hand in glove. So it was an honor to work with him because his being the national spokesman for Minister Louis Farrakhan, it was a pleasure to have his back or to look out for him because he was holding such a responsible role and posts, a significant posts for the Nation of Islam, for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I could not see that man walking without being able to move strong, move boldly, and travel with less to worry about. Yes, sir.
All praise be to Allah. And
Praise
thank you,
God.
everybody who's watching all around the world. Brother Michael Muhammad, Mosque number 80. Thank you very much, Brother Michael, Brother Wayne, 2XS ASA. Thank you, Brother David, for this history lesson. Gabriel Muhammad, I don't know if that's Gabriel or Gabriel, but thank you for watching. Brother Kente says he remembers watching his episode many times. He always wanted to know who the brother was because he boldly defended the minister. Thank you, Brother Minister David. Brother Musa, holding it down from New York. Walaikum salam, sir. Thank you to everybody else who's watching all around the world.
Yes, sir.
Many times when Dr. Khalid would do his salutation, he would say, free the land. Of course, Assalamu alaikum in the name of Allah, but he would talk to all of the Pan-Africans, the nationalists, the Christian community, the hip-hop community. Then he'll be like, what's up? He knew how to communicate with everyone. What was it like working with him, seeing him unite the diverse groups in the city of New York while you were there?
Yes, sir. And I loved the question, and I love how you phrased it. And there's a brother in New York, Brooklyn, New York, Brother Hassan, Mosque number 7T. First, let me just give a quick shout out to my first officer here in New York City, Brother Robert Muhammad. A few weeks ago, he and I were speaking at the mosque, and he said to me after we spoke for a little while, he said, brother, you know so much. He said, brother, your knowledge is so, so vast. He said, brother, you can't keep this to yourself. He said, I gotta speak to a brother Joshua and try to get you on his podcast because, brother, you played such a role with Dr. Khalid. He said people don't know this. Uh, there's things you were telling me about Dr. Khalid that people don't know. So I want to give a special shout out to
Yes, sir.
my first officer, Brother
Praise
Robert, because I said to him, he's asking me to be on the show, and I'm saying to him, I said, brother, I don't know if I need to want to be on the show. I said, I get up on the show, people are gonna think I'm trying to be up on the show to make myself known, to make myself seen, to try to prop myself up and so forth. I said, brother, I don't know if I need to be on the show. So another brother who was born in the nation and was in the nation in maybe since '84 or before, Brother Elijah Shabazz and his brother Sunni Muhammad. I said, Brother Elijah, you hear Brother Robert trying to get me on Brother Joshua's show? I said, Brother Elijah, you don't think I need to be on that show, do you? Brother Elijah answered and said, Brother David, when you jumped up on the Donahue show, he said, you became known to the world, brother, so you ain't got no excuse. You got to get on Brother Joshua's show. So I say that just to say that this brother Hassan from Mosque number 7C asked me a few years ago, he said, 3 or 4 years ago, he said, Brother David, what kind of brother was Dr. Khalid, man? What kind of brother was he? See, but I knew in Brother Hassan's heart what he was seeking was, it's like he was seeking after a bigger brother, a bigger brother, a brother he could look up to, a brother he could respect and admire. So he wanted to know what kind of a man Dr. Khalid was. And Master Farad Muhammad selected him for that very reason. See, Master Farad Muhammad knew what the enemy had done to the black man in North America all throughout the world.
Yes,
See,
sir.
the destruction of the black family, the destruction of the black head of household. So Master Farad Muhammad knew he had to find one through whom he could put his spirit. See, and at that time he chose Dr. Khalid. See, so when he put his spirit into Dr. Khalid, see, now Dr. Khalid became a new entity. He became a new man. He became a man different from the average Joe, the average Jake, the average Jim in the streets. See, because now he was imbued with God's spirit. So God had his back. So Brother Khalid, as I worked with him during the 4 years that I worked as his assistant rather, it was amazing to me how one of my jobs was to book lectures for him on college campuses all over the country. And it was amazing to me how, as I networked with the various Black student organization presidents, vice presidents, treasurers, and secretaries, they all already knew who Khalid was. The majority of them already knew who Khalid was. So it wasn't like Khalid was just raised up and left out there. But no, because of his nearness to Minister Farrakhan and because of his being the kind of soldier who was fearless in words and would tell it like it is, and who would travel wherever he needed to go to speak the truth and speak in behalf of the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the students already knew who he was. So the students saw him as a big brother, a flamethrower, as a fighter for Black liberation, a fighter for Black power or Black empowerment. And this is what our people needed at that time. This is what our souls yearned for. See, so to work in behalf of raising Brother Khalid up or helping to pick him up became easy because I saw the love he had in the community, even with Pan-African organizations, with community organizations. Khalid was loved because the same spirit that had raised up the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and gave Minister Farrakhan his power, his impact, his awesome ability to speak the truth, his gift of wisdom and knowledge and the ability to purvey it and to teach it and then to organize the nations of Islam all around the country and all around the earth. You know, that's stunning. That's amazing. So for Brother Khalid to have any of that, you know, was highly inspirational, and to work to see his job fulfilled or to see him accomplish his goals was indeed an honor, and it was needed to be done because Khalid, at a certain point, he needed help, and he needed some in his corner who would help to facilitate him and enable him to move around town and to get around and to help Minister Louis Farrakhan in the resurrection of our people.
All praise is due to Allah. Beautiful, beautiful. And Brother Minister, on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience, we want you to know that we thank Allah for you and your many sacrifices and the sacrifices of your family as well. Thank you for standing strong for all these years, and thank you, of course, for your work with our brother, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. People are, bearing witness. Sister Mina Hassan, thank you for agreeing. Okay, thank you, Brother Corey. These stories need to be told and need to be heard. Thank you very much. Brother Musa says, Brother Khalid was able to move between all the groups in New York City during the 90s. Excellent. All right. Now we want to ask you, sir, when he would speak about Malcolm X and the death of Malcolm X, what would he say about Malcolm X? Like, how would he break that down about the mentor, the life of Malcolm X, and then of course his murder?
Well, Brother Khalid, he was definitely a unique defender of the Nation of Islam.
Yes, sir.
He was a powerful speaker, and his words conveyed a lot of power and influence, and he knew the history of Malcolm.
Yes, sir.
So it was easy for him to teach our people the history of Malcolm. I remember at Harriet Tubman Junior High School, his topic, that which we put on the flyers, was the man, his meaning, his mission, and his murder. And Brother Khalid would get into the history of Malcolm. He would teach on who killed Malcolm, the role the FBI played, the role the government played, how they wrongly incriminated members of the Nation of Islam.
Yes, sir.
How many of them were wrongly imprisoned. And of course, we now see where maybe a year and a half ago, they were vindicated in the courts, and they won millions and millions of dollars from being wrongly imprisoned and falsely charged. And of course, our brother Dick Gregory talks about how at the Audubon Ballroom.
That's right. That's right.
The Audubon Ballroom was rented for a week prior to Malcolm X's event at the Audubon Ballroom, and how when Malcolm's autopsy was completed, the doctor said the bullets that struck Malcolm didn't come from the lower upward, they were coming from the higher downward. So above the stage was a room where a couple of holes had been carved out of the wood paneling or whatever that was, that a rifle could fit in. And the bullets that, according to Dick Gregory, that struck Malcolm came from those holes that had been carved out. So we know the history as we know it. Malcolm was the kind of man who had to be silenced, who had to be stopped. There's something I want to get into before we wrap this program up, that I want to come to your audience from a book. I believe when he signed 2 books, he signed these 2 books using the letter M. And he talks about in his books how these men who grow into like an ancient former life as a master, when they regain this power, they are told that if they're not successful, and I think I phrased it wrong, but they're told that if they're not successful in destroying the leader and destroying the leader's movement or the teacher's movement, they either go under or they lose their life. Now, both books were written, or at least one of them was published in 1941. We know Malcolm was assassinated in 1965. So this book is almost 20 years. It talks about the workings of a man 20 years before Malcolm was even assassinated. But he talks about in the book how they are taught to praise the leader, to give the appearance that they fully support the leader, the teacher, and they endorse the leader, the teacher, and all of his words, teachings, and works. But at the same time, they are taught that they are duty-bound to destroy the movement of the leader and to find ways to work against the leader or the teacher of this movement. And this book was published in 1941. Both books are so incredible. You know, they were the only 2 books that I sent to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And there's another book that I want to use. This book is titled Sexual Energy by a female named Elizabeth H. Haich. And in the book, she deals with a chapter on Jacob's ladder, the different rungs in a ladder that a person has to go through in order to reach the zenith of their godliness. But then there's another chapter where she talks about how a spiritual master produces his student into a master. And she says how the master works in 3 ways: through sight, through touch, and through thought. She said through thought, the master puts so much weight on the student that he causes the student to start to vibrate in unison with him. She says, and I'm sure she studied the works of other scholars to have concluded her work, but she says that vibration or that thought energy can become so intense that it causes the student to vibrate at the mere thought of the master's will. She says the vibration can become so strong that the student's own willpower wanes and dies so that the master can now take full possession and control over the student. So the scriptures of the Bible say, no man can see God and live. See, we must die in order for God to live in us.
Yes, sir.
So she says the vibrations get even stronger. She says the vibrations can become so strong on the student that the master can change the student's inner frequency into his own, that of the master. And sometimes when me and brothers would be building, I would say to the brothers how, no matter where it is that the Minister Louis Farrakhan, is coming out from, could be a door, could be curtains, could be, from behind a screen, wherever, we are almost, and we who've been in the nation 10 years, 20 years, 30 years plus that, we're on the edge of our seats if we're not standing just to glance at the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan coming forward, because we know he's coming forward with an energy, with a vibration, with a frequency that we just love to get a glimpse of. So she writes some of this, and I say that to say that men like Malcolm, who served an awesome role in the upliftment of our people, in the influence of our people toward the advancement of our people. This includes Brother Khalid. See, only Master Farad Muhammad, who taught the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and then raised up the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to rebuild his work.
Yes, sir.
Only Master Farad Muhammad knows exactly what is going on. See, so in 1954, and I didn't forget your original question, but I just got to veer this way because I don't know what time. I should have asked you in the beginning how much time I have, so I would know how to spring with your questions. But in 1954, when Brother Lewis came to hear the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad speak for the first time, 1954, and Malcolm heard that Brother Lewis, this great entertainer, this great performer, was going to come and hear the messenger. He told the messenger, and the messenger told Brother Malcolm to sit him in the balcony.
Yes, sir.
In front of me, in the front row, where I can see him. So that day went down. Brother Lewis was seated in the front row of the balcony, and as we are taught, when the messenger began speaking, I think Brother Lewis thought to himself, wow, if he spoke better, it would be easier for the people to understand his teachings and thereby be able to carry out, his teachings and that which he is directing us to do. At that point, just based on his thought, Elijah Muhammad stopped his teaching, looked up at Brother Lewis in the front row of the balcony, and said, yes, brother, I don't speak that fine language that the enemy's children have taught you, but this is something I need you to do, to put my teachings in that fine language that you speak and help me to teach the people.
Yes, sir.
Brother Lewis, the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan, was blown, said he was blown. He did not know the man was able to tune in on his thinking. And we know the rest is history. 1955, he joined the nation and has done, work that go beyond our thanks and our appreciation and go beyond words to thank him. But Master Farad Muhammad, so I say that also to say that the messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, knew that Brother Lewis ultimately will one day become Malcolm's successor as his national spokesman. See, it may not have been known to anybody else, but the most honorable Elijah Muhammad knew it because Master Farad Muhammad helped him to recognize it from that day. So I say that to say that Master Farad Muhammad is the one who is guiding this wheel, this Nation of Islam
Yes, sir.
shift. He is the one who is calling our shots. And for men like Brother Khalid and Minister Malcolm, you know, we are thankful for the good that they attempted to do, the good that they did in behalf of our people, for the level of leadership they brought and they tried to live by. However, you know, what we also want our people to know and the believers to know is that the higher up the ladder they went should have been the more dutiful of their duty they became, should have been the more on watch and the more on point they became in their own guardianship and general orders over their own lives, because there are so many in the nation who are willing to die for what we believe in, to die in support of our leadership, but we cannot have leadership that goes renegade to the teachings and the structure and the rules and the program as set up by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We cannot have deviators who are going to create their own mission, their own rules, their own dictates, and this is how they feel about something, so they're going to answer to nobody, but they're going to use the title, the limelight, and the power that they were able to receive from being in a governing body in the Nation of Islam. And see, the general public, the masses of our people, they don't see this. They don't look at that. They're not interested in some of that. When they look at Minister Malcolm, when they look at Dr. Khalid, Minister Khalid, they see someone who represents to them, because they are in pain, a freedom fighter, a liberation warrior, you know, a man with God's spirit trying to free Black people. See, so yes, our people are in pain, but as leaders, see, you got to know how to either hold your pain or control your pain and not use your pain to then, see, most people know our arms are too short to box with God.
Yes, sir.
So when you have leadership who feels they are in pain and someone is inflicting, you know, damage on them or hurt on them, they now want to turn that pain off or get out from under that pain. But see, sometimes God will leave you in the fire, hoping the fire purifies you. See, turns you into gold or purifies you and brings out the diamond in you. But we who are in this furnace of affliction, because we can't get out of it, can't get away from it, now we want to strike out against those we feel is valuable to God or valuable in the sight of God. So Malcolm, now he gets into a public media fight with Elijah Muhammad, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And then Dr. Khalid, in his latter days, he now wants to feel as though he can prove to Minister Louis Farrakhan that, you know, he's also somebody who's the equal of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So Minister Farrakhan calls for a 1,000,000-man march, and almost 2 million black men turn out in 1995, the most peaceful day known on the planet, with so many men assembled at one place at one time. But then Dr. Khalid calls a 1,000,000 youth march a handful of years later, and he almost sets off a riot between the police. See, so there came a time when Dr. Khalid could not walk with one hand in God's hand and one hand in Satan's hand at the same time. See, Master Farad Muhammad was not going to allow that to happen. So that day, thank God, we were able to prevent an all-out brawl with the police. See, the youth who are already misguided from the media, from that which they see in our communities, and yes, it is true, the government has never done much, if anything at all, to help us in our communities. So the youth grow up and feel as though, you know, the whole world is against them. So they are now ready to just strike out. So Brother Khalid, now knowing he had that type of audience, instead of being careful with his words, being careful with his language, he now wants to set it off and jump into a tirade, you know, of what we'll do to you, pick up their nightsticks and treat them like they did Brother Abner Louima, and the railings beside you, already loosen the railings and figure out who's going to get the wheeling on the police if they attack. See, the youth are listening because they're looking for instruction. They're looking for how they can vent the pain that they already feel. And now a brother like Brother Khalid, feeling as though, you know, he has a little army, you know, at that point, he's ready to risk, you know, half of them going to jail, half of them being put on boats as a private jail, you know, that they would just use to put people on some form of lockdown. And but there were some of us who were there just to see what was going on. And when it was over, we were able to come between the brothers in the community and the police. I mean, literally walk between them, you know. And I remember, as they had given me the bullhorn, I remember telling the brothers in the black community to form their arms into to lock their arms under each other and to get between the brothers and the police and walk the brothers back. And I was talking to them like this from the bullhorn, you know, and the community respected us. This is just brothers from the hood respected us. They listened to us, and they started to back up and retreat. At this point, Brother Khalid had long gone, you know, in vehicles that he and his people had waiting for him. But now we had to deal with the showdown that was about to go down. So we backed our people up, and we were able to save the day in that way. And I remember a white man in a white shirt, you know, flanked by almost a dozen police, came up to thank me and to shake my hand. And you know, he was so happy that I was able to lead that little organization. At this point, I was no longer Brother Khalid's assistant. My work with him had ended maybe a year or two prior. And then I had gone to 125th Street where a couple of brothers I knew were vending. And this same police captain or whatever he was, he stopped his vehicle in the middle of the street, 125th Street, held up traffic when he saw me on 125th Street again, to walk across the street to shake my hand and thank me again. Held up traffic, got back in the vehicle and took off. So I say that to say that Master Farad Muhammad, he came to save our people. He came to lift our people up. He came to deal with our enemies, even if he has to deal with our enemies himself. So he does not need folk who want to go renegade, or want to now arm themselves with rifles and shotguns. And the fascinating thing about Brother Khalid, as beautiful a brother as he was coming up in the nation, as he was moving along as a national spokesman, I used to hear Brother Khalid say, "You can't fight your enemy with a gun, fool. Your enemy makes the gun. You don't even make a gun. Your enemy makes the gun. He makes the bullets for the gun. You don't make the bullets." He says, "So how are you going to fight a man who gives you the weapon you're going to use against him?" Khalid said, "No, you can't fight your open enemy with weapons." Next thing we know, in his fall, he now becomes the new leader of the new Black Panther Party. And these boys carrying shotguns and all kind of rifles and AKs. So it just goes to show, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us, I got to try you. I got to try you. I have to know, he said, my love for my people compels me to want to know what it is that's in you. I have to know who you are. See, so he has to now allow Master Farad Muhammad to bring out of all of us, out of any individual who wants to rise in the nation. Minister Farrakhan said after Malcolm passed, Elijah Muhammad told him he would never teach anyone.
That's right.
Like he had taught Malcolm until he had thoroughly tried him. So Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan said he knew he wasn't going to get any one-on-one teaching from Elijah Muhammad, from the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, for a while, because of what Malcolm had done to manifest the lower side or the weaker side or even the wicked side of our human nature. Yes, sir, brother.
Thank you, Brother Lewis, and people are showing you love all around the world. Thank you for your transparency and your great storytelling.
Yes, sir.
Sister, hey, Brother Ian, walaikum salam. Thank you for holding it down. Your luxury auto concierge, always showing love. Sister Amina Hanan, excellent teaching. Praise be to Allah. Brother Ahmad, prayer hands. Mac Wynn, oh yeah. Brother Demario Cleveland, this is a good conversation. Brother Musa, that's the 100% truth. Brother Corey, great teaching from our brother student minister David. Thank you for giving the opportunity, the time to share this untold history, Brother Joshua. Hey, listen, thank you all for watching this People's Podcast is about. Speaking of the People's Podcast, we have a brief 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast. We are grateful for every like, share, and subscription. Thank you for every anonymous Cash App. We're grateful for all of the super chat people who send super chats and the comments. You all have no idea how the People's People Podcast is uplifting. I want to thank everybody, on behalf of myself, my family, everybody who's sending love and prayers, positive energy. We truly appreciate it. We thank you for each call, text. Thank you. Thank you to my sisters and my brothers holding it down 24/7, round the clock. You know what it is. We love you all. Thank you very much. Here's our sponsorship commercial. We're coming right back to Brother Minister David. Hamid. 1 second.
We are live with the People's Podcast.
Street Premier Media Production. He has a 4K camera and a drone. He does television and film editing. Please reach out if you need any of that. Sister Naima, Stay On Point Dance Academy. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country. Sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me children's book and coloring book. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ. My two books, Cleopatra, which is a children's book, and No Father, No Excuse, both of which are available on Amazon. Excellent. There we go. Thank you all to everyone who was watching and showing love all around the world. And thank you to the person, my sister, make sure I remind me, the person I was sent a gift. Someone sent a gift to People's Podcast and Mas Mariam. I received that gift today. Thank you to the person who transported the gift. Thank you to whoever sent me the gift. Nobody, you didn't put your name on the card, but People's Podcast appreciates love everywhere. Thank you, everybody. Cash at People's Podcast and all that good stuff. Our next question is, the last time you were able to speak to Dr. Khalid, was it on positive terms? How was he? And first of all, shout out to his family. May Allah continue to bless them, and hope that they, may Allah not deprive his reward to his children. What was the last time? What was it like speaking to Dr. Khalid? The last time you spoke?
Well, I'll say it like this. Brother Khalid was a great brother in terms of his polish, his skill of language, his being a well-versed and well-rounded person. I remember he used to travel so much, and even while he was in New York, sometimes if he spoke in New Jersey or New York, as we were leaving that location, I would be in the back seat of his Rolls Royce with him on occasion. His cousin might have been driving his Rolls Royce at the time, and another brother in the front seat. And I used to just look at brother, and he would be asleep sometimes or nodding off or whatever. And I used to just say to myself, like, wow, how can people oppose him? He's such a beautiful brother. The minister at the time loved him. Minister, came to the city a few times in support of Brother Khalid and tried to heal wounds and fix the fence. And there was a big unity rally in 1992 where, the minister again, spoke up in behalf of Brother Khalid at this unity rally held in New York City. So I was like, wow, how can people oppose this man? See, but now that I look back at those days, I say to myself, Master Farad Muhammad knew to raise up a man like Khalid or like Malcolm, he had to expose them to what they would be in for upon the departure of the leadership of their day. So he also had to know who he would be working with, and to what degree they would be willing to allow him to work with them. So I remember when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, after the Keene College lecture by Dr. Khalid, where Minister Farrakhan said he supports the truths that Brother Khalid had spoken, but he could not condone some of the language that Brother Khalid had used, because Khalid, he was rough and raw, but there was a time when his being rough and raw in a wicked kind of style, it was somewhat of a euphoric nature. He knew how to mix or blend harmony and humor. But at Keene University, when he started saying to kill all white folks and dig them up, kill them, and if they're buried in the grave, shoot in the grave, dig them up and kill them again, and kill the crippled, kill the blind, kill the old, kill the baby. So he was using language that at a certain time, I guess Master Farad Muhammad could no longer allow him to just so easily use. And the Black community, especially some of the pastors, began to want to meet with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan because they wanted to know, like, this Khalid, he's just speaking, some wild stuff, like, what's going on here? But even beyond that, there came a time at Keene University, Keene College, where Minister Farrakhan had to, um, remove Khalid from speaking, like Malcolm had been suspended for a while from speaking because of Khalid's use of language. But I will say that I would always see Khalid in Harlem. He and I, we once we had stopped talking, we had just stopped talking. I remember there was one occasion when he and I had a major falling out. And I lived on the second floor, and I swear we were both using such loud voices, I thought the people on the fifth floor could probably hear us. And, but we were going at it. And at that point, my work with him, this might have been in 93 sometime, my work with him had officially ended. And I told him so. I told him I could just not, work with someone who felt that they had the right to just talk to me in any manner they chose to. And I was at the point where, like, Khalid had now chased away all of his help, chased away all of his help. And I was the last man standing in his corner. And he was putting so much on me, asking me to do so much, it just didn't figure into any human ability to to complete or to conduct, fulfill. So at one point he's raising his voice, I'm raising my voice. Our relationship ended. He knew I would give him the last of his speaking engagements through his cousin, and I would work through his cousin to see to it he got the last of his lectures, and that would be it. And one day I'm at work, because I worked across the street from the mosque on 127th Street in a school building. The building had nothing but businesses and companies in there, and I was working in there, and one of my colleagues came and said, one of your brothers is out in the hallway, want to speak to you. I went out in the hallway, and it was Dr. Khalid. And brother had tears in his eyes, right? So now, the shoe was on my foot to make the move first, or make a move. So I said, look, brother, I said, we've worked together for so long and so strong. I said, the last thing we need to do is to end it in a negative way. I said, brother, the only issue I have is we have to learn to speak to one another differently. You have to speak to me in a manner that enables me to know, that what I'm doing is appreciated. Not that I didn't do enough, because I said I'm the only man doing just everything there is to do. So I said, if we can relate to one another's differently, I said we can get past whatever minor stuff is in our way, and I said, brother, I'm here to help you, brother. I'm here to help you. It is my duty to help you and to work with you and to see to it that you are successful. Now, this is before he has fully gone toward the new Black Panther Party movement, and any form of deviation from Minister Farrakhan in terms of refusing to meet with Minister Farrakhan or not wanting to go to headquarters in Chicago and explain, what he's saying and why he's saying it and what proof he has or evidence he has to make the claims he was making and so forth. So, at this point, I'm like, well, I can hang in there with brother, and at that point, we just shook hands and that was it. I continued being his assistant, but that only lasted for, maybe a few months, and then Brother Khalid was back up to his warrior warrior style, his warrior ways. He was finding complaints for everything. Now I held his master calendar. I had a brother in North Carolina in the secretary department called Brother Mark, a sister in the Los Angeles mosque in the secretarial department. Her name was Sister LaRue, and there was a sister, I forget her name, but sister in a Florida mosque or study group. And the three of them would call lectures into me because I had the master calendar. And then between the three of us, we would schedule the lecture or put a date behind it, book the hotel, book the flight, and contact local mosques or study groups so that his security could be arranged. And then while Khalid was in town or in that area, they would also enable him to lecture in their town, at their mosque or at their study group, and combine mosques and so forth. So Khalid was constantly on the move, but he went into North Carolina to checkmate Mark. He went into Los Angeles to, quote unquote, deal with Sister LaRue. And he was just headhunting for everybody he felt was doing him wrong. So I didn't have the knowledge that I have now in terms of the darker side of a person who once contained light, the darker side of their nature, and how they would choose to victimize other people. And the last thing I wanted him to have a reputation of being able to use is to say that he and Brother David, like I said, we brought Brother Khalid to Harriet Tubman 11 times. He gave 7 speeches, 7 parts, speeches on Malcolm X, the man, his mentor, his meaning, his mission, and his murder. So the community knew Dr. Khalid. They knew myself, having worked with him, introduced him, etc. The last thing I wanted him to be able to wave a flag was to say that he and Brother David, had a fight, or that this happened and that happened, and this is how it went down. See, no, you wasn't gonna have that kind of reputation to use against me, because that's how you saw yourself or how you became now as a brother. See, so I put some of that history out there because I want the believers to know, especially the believers to know, and most do know, that there's a way we settle our differences. And, we have a chain of command in terms of leadership, and this is how we handle our differences. But you can't say you're in the mosque and you are an FOI and you want to bring the resolution to your problems in the streets. In the streets is how you're going to handle things. And no, we're not in the streets. The messenger teaches us that the best title and the best name we can have is a brother, you see. So Brother Khalid was a shining star. I love the brother today, from memory. We should always look for and look at the good that another brother does and did to take our nation forward and to help us in making progress. So we hold him up in that way. But when you flip the script and now think that you are equal to others in the nation, but then you are full of wrongdoing, and you don't want to change from your wrong ways to do right. See, then we have to draw a line or just separate ourselves from that individual, you know. So there was no one particular last communique. We would just see each other's in Harlem or, you know, in passing, you know, hi, assalamu alaikum,
Okay.
alaikum salam. But that was it. But then, you know, Brother Khalid passed in 2001 before the World Trade Center bombing, you know, of September 11th. So that was part of it too, a long time ago.
Yes, sir. Beautiful. Thank you very much, Brother Minister. And thank you to everybody who's watching all around the world and continue to comment. Walaikum salam, Sister Naima. Thank you very much, Brother King. Simon Presents keeps showing love and everyone who's in the comments. We have 2 more questions for our brother. Thank you very much, Brother Minister. Of course, may Allah forever be pleased with Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
I was able to see him the last time I saw him, I want to say 2000, at a graduation in Atlanta. My sister Miriam and I were at a graduation, and we got to see him very young. But once again, salute to him and his family. Salute to you and yours, sir. And man, we love this primary source history of working with the work that you've done with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and of course the work of Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. What type of music do you enjoy listening to, sir?
Brother said music. Oh, brother, man. I love some music, brother. You done
Okay.
struck a nerve now.
Okay.
But
Okay.
you know, I love my rap. You know, I love my rap.
Okay.
You know, I love rap, but you know, good rap that makes sense. You know, I like when certain persons can really strike some home runs and score some serious points. I like, you know, I like there's a you know, there's a Christian singer who really hits some great notes. I love my
Okay.
R&B, you know, Temptations and
Okay.
there's many great singers out there, great songs, R&B songs. So yeah, I love my music, man. And you know, of course, you know, rap has played a role, an influential role for many of us. I like the fact that, you know, we were able to create a musical uh, opportunity for ourselves to, in words, you know, circulate dollars within our communities so that brothers and sisters could offer jobs to one another and create some form of, you know, sustaining livelihood in our communities, you know, other than, you know, the selling of contraband, you know, narcotics and drugs and other things, which is the venue that the system, as it is currently set up, leaves open for people to do something for themselves. It's not the only, but it's one of those in which the enemy prefers because it leads to the destruction of the Black community, the incarceration of the Black youth in particular, and then, of course, gang life and street life and a whole lot of other things. And one thing that I would just like to add is that Master Farad Muhammad taught us, or taught as taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Master Farad Muhammad teaches that before he destroyed America, and I'm gonna even guess to say the European world, because you can't just take America down and leave the European world, you know, to come and take this thing over, you know, China and Russia, etc. Before he destroys it, he's going to shame her and embarrass her before the eyes of the world, you know, and no bomb would be used to drop to be dropped, allowed to be dropped on North America. So he plans to give her power over to us. He plans to make us the rulers of this land, you know. So we just have to do that which we can to maintain our position and allow Allah to do the work he came to do, you know, to lift us up and put us on top of our enemy or our open enemy, and especially those who choose to remain such today, you know.
Excellent. All praises due to Allah. And on that positive note, we got. Just want to put you on the hot seat, Brother Minister David. May you come back again for a part 2, perhaps, so we can ask you some more questions.
Yes, sir, brother. I would love to come back, and we can build off air
Yes, sir, yes,
about when and the time for that. You know, I would also like your audience to know that when my work with Dr. Khalid ended in 1994, between 1995 and 2007, I lectured on 92 college campuses myself. So I began outreaching to the college students, which is something I used to do with Dr. Jeffries. I used to travel to community events before he arrived, or Columbia University before he arrived, and places, and warm up the audience, introduce him to the audience, as well as teach Black Studies courses at City College. So in addition to the street speaking, I knew when my work with Dr. Khalid ended, this is something I could do. So I went to Syracuse University 3 times, Bowling Green State University in Ohio 3 times, Kent State in Ohio, Ohio State University, University of Toledo, University of Virginia, University of Kansas, Eastern Michigan University, Harvard, Howard. I mean, just Duke University in North Carolina. I was just on a move, you know, 92 times I lectured. And, you know, at this point, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he knew what I was doing because I kept sending him updates. So he knew where I had traveled, where I had been. 1996, he put his hand around my neck at LaGuardia Airport and said, "Brother, I want you to start teaching." 1997, he's at LaGuardia Airport. He told me in front of a lot of brothers, he said, "Brother, I want you to continue preaching. Don't stop preaching. Continue to preach." 1998 in New York City, after he had lectured, he came down to the front, and when he greeted me, he said, "Brother, I want you to continue preaching. Don't stop preaching, and don't let anyone stop you from preaching." He said, "Brother, I want you to have 1,000 followers." And then in 2004, when he lectured at Mosque number 7, he called me over to him, and as we stood together, he was tapping me on my cheek, and he said, "Brother, I want to hear you preach." So for those, you know, who don't believe, you know, I just wanted, you know, some to hear some of that. But yeah, we'll put a part 2 together, and we'll hopefully be able to go a little further, go a little deeper. All right? Yes, sir.
All praises to Allah. Walaikum salam, sir. And I want to thank brother. I was going to make sure we thank the first officer, Brother Robert. Make sure you all please go back. He's been on the podcast twice. Please watch his interviews. Of course, Brother Elijah Shabazz, someone who has watched me grow up since a junior FOI and was very intricate in the training of the drill teams and junior FOI conventions and camps. So shout out to Brother Elijah Shabazz as well.
Of course.
Yes, sir.
Of course.
And
yes,
shout out to the whole Mosque number 7. You all have been locked in with the People's Podcast. Thank you, everybody who's watching. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off with the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Thank you all for watching.
Wa alaikum salam.